Last week, my wife begged me to go camping. She's always loved nature, the quiet, the isolation, the way the world feels just untouched. Me, however, I've never trusted places where you can scream and no one can hear you. But she was excited, too excited. I just couldn't say no. So we packed everything and drove out the next morning to a piece of land my parents own. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's no neighbors, no signal, just nothing. Just trees stretching so far you forget what direction you come from. We set up camp, went hiking, did all the normal things people pretend are relaxing. She was glowing the whole time. I wasn't. Something about this place just felt off. Not in a loud, obvious way. Just quiet in the wrong places. Like the woods were always holding their breath. By evening it started to rain. Just a light drizzle, but enough to push us back to camp. We made a fire, ate, told stupid, scary stories. Eventually she got tired, so we crawled into the tent. That's when things started to change. She began shivering beside me. "Are you all right?" I asked. "I'm fine," she said quickly. But she wasn't. Her body was trembling harder now, and when I touched her forehead, it was burning. Like fever bad. I told her we needed to leave, but she didn't want to. But eventually she agreed. I helped her to the car and sat down in the passenger seat. She didn't want to, but eventually she agreed. I helped her to the car and sat her down in the passenger seat while I started packing everything up. That's when she laid on the horn. Not just a tap, a panicked, desperate blast. I ran over. "What's wrong?" "There's someone out there," she whispered, eyes locked in the woods behind our campsite. "I saw them. They were crawling. I think they were naked." I felt the uneasiness crawl up my spine, but I brushed it off. Told her it was probably nothing. Told her to lock the doors, and I went back to packing. That was my second mistake. I stepped into the tent to grab our sleeping bag when I heard her scream, "Jack!" It came from the woods, and I froze. "What the hell is she doing?" I muttered, stepping outside. "Help! Jack! My leg! It's bleeding!" The voice was her. It was exactly her. I turned toward the sound, and then without thinking, I glanced at the car. And there she was, still in the passenger seat, head slumped against the window, fast asleep. At that point, I couldn't even breathe. For a second, my brain tried to make sense of it, to tell me I was hearing things, that stress was messing with me. Then the voice came again. It was right behind me, even closer. "Please, Jack, help me!" I turned slowly. The woods were dark. Something moved between the trees, low in the ground, dragging itself forward. And then it stopped. I could feel it watching me, waiting, listening. "Jack," it whispered again, this time not calling out, but imitating, testing the sound of my name like it was learning it. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't just using her voice, it was getting better at it. I don't remember throwing everything into the car. I don't remember starting the engine. I just remember driving, faster than I ever have, while the trees on both sides of the road looked like they were closing in. She didn't wake up the entire drive home, not even once. When we finally got back, I asked her what she saw. She hesitated at first, but she said it was pale, too pale, like skin that had never seen sunlight. It was crawling, she told me, voice shaking, like it didn't know how to stand until it tried. I didn't tell her what I heard. I didn't tell her how it said my name. That was a week ago. My wife's all fine now. The fever's gone, just a mild flu. But something isn't right. Sometimes in the middle of the night, she sits up in bed, completely still, facing the corner of the room. And in a voice that isn't quite hers anymore, she whispers, "Jack, I think there's someone outside." The worst part? Last night I heard it answer, from just beyond the window, soft, patient, perfectly her voice. I heard, "Let me in." Eric didn't come back from the woods. Something else did. 3 months ago, my friends Valerie, Eric, and I went camping in a forest we found online. I'd just gotten back from a long cruise contract, and it was supposed to be a fun reunion. Just bonfires, drinks, the usual catching up. But the moment we drove in, I felt it. That quiet. Not peaceful, just a very wrong quiet. Like the forest was listening to our every move. We set up camp, laughed, and roasted marshmallows. Then out of nowhere, a scream. It was high pitched, very human. Way too far into the woods. Val froze. I felt my stomach drop. Eric? He laughed. Oh yeah, he said, grinning. This place is supposed to be haunted. Before we could even react, he stood up. I'll prove it's nothing. And he walked into the trees. That was the last normal thing he ever did. 30 minutes passed, no Eric, no text answered, no sound. Then, movement. A figure stumbling out of the woods. Relief hit me hard at first. It looked like him, but the closer it got, the more wrong it felt. His walk was stiff and unnatural, like someone pretending to know how legs work. Val ran up and hugged him. I thought you were gone. Oh, I came back, he said. His voice sounded like Eric, but not quite. We sat back down. He didn't talk, didn't joke, didn't act like himself, just watched us. Then he pointed at Val's snack bag. Can I have some? What, the nuts, she asked? Yes, the nuts. Everything in me went cold. Eric is deathly allergic to peanuts. I didn't react, didn't panic. I just asked for Val's phone and typed the message in the notes. That's not Eric. Don't freak out. And follow my lead. She read it and paused. Then acted like everything was normal. We tested it. I asked about his girlfriend. Just a long pause, and then he would say, I love her. Just flat, empty, practiced. Like I had learned the sentence, but not the meaning. Then it smiled. Too wide, too tight. Like something was pulling its face into shape from the inside. I could see his teeth in the firelight. They didn't look placed right. We gave it the peanuts. It ate them, slowly, struggling, like chewing with something new. That's when I knew, whatever it wasn't just pretending anymore. It was failing. I stood up, said, Val, come with me. We walked toward the trees, toward the car, and as soon as we were far enough, I yelled, run. We didn't stop. Not when we heard something moving behind us, not when we heard the screaming starting up, kept getting closer and closer, like multiple voices trying to scream at once. We made it to the car and got out of there. Val looked back once. She never told me what she saw, and she probably never will. Eric is still missing. We found his phone days later, still working, still on. And Val's message, they were opened. I shouldn't be posting this, but if I don't, and someone else hears it, I don't think they'll get a second chance. Whatever's out there in the northern woods, it's still alive. My family and I had gone up north for a week, somewhere in the Great Lakes area. I finally got time off of work. I'm a criminal pathologist. My job is to study why people commit violent crimes, and it stains you after a while. You have nightmares, sleeplessness, the kind of thoughts that don't stay at work like they're supposed to. My therapist, Jean, a soft-spoken older woman, told me I needed some distance, just time away, and so I listened. We rented a cabin in Michigan, quiet and isolated and peaceful. At least, it was supposed to be. The second day there, my kids were playing near the tree line, while my wife and I sat inside with coffee, watching them through the windows. We could only see them for a second. When my youngest came running back in, he was smiling. Daddy, look what I found. In his hands was an old leather-bound notebook. The cover was cracked with age, the pages yellow and brittle. Inside, scrawled in faded ink, was a name and a date. 1899. At first it seemed like a normal journal, but as we flipped through, the entries grew dark. The last 4 days were different. They read like this. Paul and his friend took me hunting near Briar Creek. They say it's far from civilization, completely untouched. The storm started the moment we left town. Thunder so loud it shook the horses. Maxwell carried the rifles. Kent had the cooking gear. Paul and I handled the rest. When we reached the creek, the storm finally stopped, just like that out of nowhere. That's when I heard it. A high-pitched whistling, far off, too steady to be wind. Paul says he hears nothing. We made camp in a meadow, plenty of animals during the day, but at night, nothing. Not even owls. Day 2. Maxwell swears something whispered his name last night. Paul said he's lying to scare me. I don't think he is. Caught a buck today, hung it up to bleed. That whistling came back. Closer now. Not distant anymore. Not moving. Just around us. Even Paul heard it this time. At dinner we heard a deer screaming somewhere in the dark. It cut off suddenly. We're sleeping with our guns tonight. Day 3. Something was in camp before sunrise. We woke up to the sound of feeding, wet, tearing sounds. Paul went to check, revolver drawn. Before he stepped outside, something took off into the trees. It sounded like wings. Huge wings. It had taken all the game we caught. The horses were gone too. Not scattered. Just gone. Kent left to get help. Maxwell found one of the horses later hanging in a tree, twisted up in something like a web, but all wrong and not natural. That night the whistling surrounded us, just beyond the firelight. Waiting. We must have fallen asleep. I woke up to something heavy landing beside us. Kent's head. Maxwell screamed. He ran. That's when it took him too. I didn't see it clearly, just something pulling him upward, and then the sound, bones breaking, over and over. Day 4. We didn't sleep. Paul tried to stay calm, but I could hear it in his voice. We were trapped. The storm came back heavier. Then lightning struck, and for a moment, I saw it. Behind the tent, tall, all bent and broken and wrong. Wings folded tight against its back. Its face. Paul fired and hit it. It screamed and flew off. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then something grabbed Paul from behind and pulled him into the dark. I didn't even hear him hit the ground. I'm all alone now. I can still hear it whistling and whispering and saying my name over and over again. I see lights ahead. People. I think I'm finally saved. They're calling to me. They sound just like... And the entry ends right there. I wish that was the end of it, but it wasn't. 2 days after we found that journal, my oldest son disappeared. 7 years old, just gone. No tracks, no sound, nothing. The rangers say kids wander off all the time. They say he'll turn up, but last night, I heard something outside the cabin. A faint, high-pitched whistling, and then, from the tree line, in my son's voice, all I could hear was, "Dad, I'm over here." We're leaving tonight. If anyone finds this, if you ever hear whistling in the woods, do not follow it. Do not answer it. Because whatever took that boy and his family back in 1899 is still out there calling people's name. I used to go in the woods hoping I'd find something inhuman, something ancient and unexplainable. Well, I got my wish. I just didn't realize how much worse it is when the thing you find is still human. 3 months ago, I went camping alone in the mountains. I didn't believe in cryptids, didn't believe in ghosts. I studied CGI and special effects. If something could ever be explained, I was going to figure it out. So I started solo camping. If anything was out there, I wanted to see it for myself. The first time I went, I wasn't alone. My friends Eric and Nate took me deep into the mountains to a spot barely marked on my trail map. On the way, I asked them about the stories, skinwalkers, voices in the woods, all that. They laughed. But Nate said something I didn't forget. There are only 2 things to be scared of out here, he told me. Silence and the darkness. Put those together, and your mind will do the rest. At the time, I thought he was talking about imagination. I was wrong. We found a clearing to camp in. About a mile away, there was an old shelter. On the way there, we passed something strange. A rusted sign nailed to a tree. "Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ." Beneath it, 2 crude gravestones. No names, no dates, just rocks shoved into the ground. Inside the shelter, we found the logbook. At first, it was normal. dates, names, dumb little messages. Then the last 2 pages, over and over again, was the words, God help me. Different handwriting, different pressure. Some words carved so hard they nearly tore the page. Nate said it was probably a prank, and I believed him, but I wish I hadn't. Nothing happened that night, or the next few trips, so I got comfortable. I got overconfident, and 2 months later, I went back alone. Before I left, Nate stopped me. He looked kind of off. Bring your gun, he said. That kind of caught me off guard. He'd been the one telling me not to before. Why, I asked. He hesitated. I checked another shelter down the trail last week, he said. There was nothing in the log, not even normal entries. Just gone. Gone? Like someone didn't want anyone reading it. Well, I still went. I made it to the clearing by late afternoon. Everything looked the same. Too quiet, though. No birds and no insects. Just wind moving to the trees that felt too close together. I headed straight for the shelter. The grave markers were still there, but the sign, the G in God, had faded almost completely. Now it just said, "Odd help me." Inside the shelter, the law book was thinner. Most of the pages had been ripped out. The remaining ones, worse. God save me, over and over. Then, your God can't save you, in clean handwriting, neat and careful, like someone had taken their time. The last page, the ink was still wet. All it said was, "He's awake." I wasn't alone. I felt it before I heard anything, the heavy crawling sensation like someone watching you breathe. I left the shelter fast. I didn't run. I didn't want to make noise, but I didn't stop until I hit the clearing again. I should have packed up and left, but I didn't. I told myself it was just someone messing with hikers, a person, something explainable. So I stayed. That night, I laid in my tent, gun in hand, just listening. Out there, every sound lies to you. Wind sounds like footsteps, animal sounds like people. Your own heartbeat sounds too loud. And the silence between those sounds, that's the worst part, because you're just waiting for something real. Then I heard it, a voice, right outside my tent, high-pitched, almost playful. "I see you." I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then softer. "Help me." It sounded wrong, like someone trying to sound scared, without understanding what fear actually sounds like. Then leaves started crunching, fast, running straight toward me. "Stop!" I screamed, aiming the gun at the tent door. "I have a gun." Everything went silent, completely. Then right outside the tent, all I heard was, "I want to see you." I fired my gun. The sound exploded in my ears, louder than anything I'd ever heard. It rang so bad I couldn't tell if anything else was moving. I just sat there, gun raised, waiting, for minutes, maybe hours. Eventually I fell asleep. Morning light saved me, or so I thought. When I unzipped the tent, something was sitting right outside, waiting. A rabbit's head, cleanly removed, no body, no blood trail, just placed there perfectly. I left everything else behind and just ran. I didn't stop till I was halfway down the mountain. I didn't feel safe until I was back home. That's when I noticed something in my bag, something that I didn't pack. The shelter log. My stomach dropped. I knew what that meant. It had been in my tent while I was asleep, close enough to touch me. My wallet was in my bag. It was open, cards all out of order. I didn't want to open the log, but I had to. The first few pages were the same. God save me, God save me, over and over. Then I turned the page. Only one sentence. You can tell it was written slowly and carefully. It said, "I will see you again, Caleb." I don't remember screaming, but I remember what came next. Because if it saw my ID, then it didn't just see my name. It saw my address. And sometimes late at night, when everything is silent and the house is dark, I hear something outside walking, slow and deliberate, not trying to get in, just making sure that I know it's found me.